Good morning, folks. Back here in Winslow Township in Sicklerville on Concord Boulevard. We had done a replacement right at the end of this road at 8 Salem Court to start the summer season last year. Or actually, I think it was already July. In any case, we knew going into this project that we were going to have to address certain areas with the roof deck. The reason I say that, we had the opportunity to view the underside. And along the eaves, on both the front and back side, I would say the majority of the area was covered with fungus and mold. And we were able to see that ahead of time, so we were able to get it addressed in the initial estimate report. Now, there was no telling at that point what we would find. However, we now have the roof deck torn off in its entirety, and it's not cleaned up yet. It's just been torn off. And you can see going straight across, right? We have a ridge length here of 40 feet. So boards being 4 by 8, we have exactly 5 boards. Okay, now I know from being on the underside that these are the boards that are affected down by the eaves. However, if you look at the top side, these boards are completely intact. Absolutely nailable surface. We could have simply just gone back to the underside and taken an anti-mold and fungus treatment and sealed in the affected areas. However, since we were able to address it ahead of time, the insurer allotted for us simply to change those boards. So we're going to change them, for the sake of addressing the underside, even though the top side is pretty well intact. You do have this one area right here where you can see is heavily stained and water was penetrating there for whatever reason. Might have been a low nail or, somewhere, some issue where water was getting through. But essentially, we will change all 5 of these boards, even though top side looks good, to address the circumstance that we found on the underside when we did the inspection. And then likewise on the front side, you're going to have a lot less. You're going to have about 1, 2 on this side, and then a third board on this side. One thing to take notice, you can see that the valleys, right, were already shored up with ice and water. They went a little bit cheap. You can see it's only about 1.5 feet. The sheet is 3 feet long. I don't know why not just use the entire sheet, but it looks like they decided to half it. But just seeing that the valleys had that type of underlayment is a good sign. You can see that these boards everywhere else, there is no area that even is slightly concerning around all of the pipes. Anywhere that you would look that would typically be troublesome, we're in good shape. And another thing is that today, the ridge is already cut. So we had ventilation. We're just simply going to be replacing it with updated, a better product, CertainTeed ridge vent throughout the entire ridge length. But the good news is, outside of the boards that were addressed with the insurer initially, we have no other surprises. So we have no additional boards to change and address other than what we addressed up front. And I say this to project managers over and over and over again. Look, no one wants to hop up in an attic in May, let alone in the middle of July. But the fact of the matter is, we had several inspections right on this block during that week. We made it a point to get to the underside of each one of those roofs, and in every one of those circumstances, whether it was minor or major, there was at least something to address. And again, we were able to get those things incorporated into the original estimate report simply by taking the time to address them prior to the day of the project, versus waiting to tear the roof off to see what we were working with. No one likes to do it, but you're really, it's in your benefit to do so. You're ultimately saving yourself a future headache.